This episode of my Mucha redo, I'm going to originally focus on the outline of how I'm going to do it because you need a reference point always. And I'm very bad at remembering what I planned because even though I keep everything in my head, I lose things very easily. I'm not an organized person. So, also, I was thinking of how I wanted the figures to change because that was one of my main issues with how I originally did it. And I decided that instead of having Cinderella and Rapunzel looking off to the side so you only see their profile, it would be much more engaging for them to face forward, or at least, three-quarters turned. So I decided to go with the alternate version of Rapunzel that I did in my last episode. She was just kind of like looking very disgustedly out of her window. I mean, that was her expression. But you could see her lovely, beautiful hair. So, yeah, anyhow. Also, I'm keeping them in the same order because there's no reason why not to. And I also predict that I'm going to change my mock-up so many times because as I get more ideas, I'm going to have to make them unified. So if I'm going to change something a lot in one portion for one princess, it's going to affect all the other ones unless it's just what kind of clothes she's wearing or what kind of flowers they're in. Well, even if it's just the flowers, it's going to have to change because I can't have them having totally different flowers everywhere. Yes. Also, you can tell this is a super rough sketch. And I neglected to draw on the border, which is kind of silly because if there's one thing Mucha loves the most, it's putting borders. He puts borders on everything. Not that I'm complaining, I really like his borders. But seriously, just can you I can't draw that thin lines all the time. But I guess I am complaining then. And you can tell these are really horrible stick figures. Ah well, because the one thing that I'm really bad at is human anatomy, which is something I'm going to have to focus on because Mucha likes drawing not stick people, and I like drawing near stick people. So the big question is, how do you draw figures? The answer to that is you should go on Pinterest, of course. Here's my Pinterest account. But you can't really tell which one. Oh, well, never mind. Anyhow, I searched up sitting person anatomy because that way it tends to break down the human body a bit better and you actually can figure out how to draw the muscles and all that stuff because I tend to draw basically sitting bones with skin on top. Oh, I got distracted and drew sword things. People with swords. I like them a lot. Then I found this reference, which went pretty well because you could see that they're kind of three-quarter turned. And I drew it, but then I realized that Cinderella isn't going to be sitting in a chair. She won't have backrest. So I went back to references. Then I realized that there's not actually that many people sitting on stuff that doesn't have a backrest or isn't the floor, which is what I needed, which was really annoying. So I searched up Mucha figures, and I got so much better references. It was amazing. And then I found this particular one, which looks like I stole the entire idea of Cinderella from this one, but I never saw this one before. You can tell, look, like it's like that's the moon, and it even has the leaves that I drew in and her hair. So yeah, I started copying that instead. See, oh, I also at this point I kind of gave up trying to draw figures for everyone and instead uh, just focused on Cinderella. I wanted her to have clothes because she was naked in that reference photo, so I said, you know what, this is a good outfit for Cinderella to wear. And then I drew that on her in really light pencil. I mean, it comes to the same thing, really, because it's such chiffony cloth. Oh, and I also, this is how the border's gonna look like. You can see there's a little pumpkin, and then I drew little mice. I think that's really cute. Then I decided to focus on how the clock's gonna look like because there's not gonna be that much fascinating things going on like not that many flowers like there was in the original one. So I looked for his circle things, but his circle things tend to have circle things inside the circle things. So I did little circle things in the border, but you can't really put circle things there. So I decided to make the stars more interesting instead of putting circle things inside the other circle thing. So first I started with like the normal 5-1, and then I went on to like just lines, and then I changed it up by making some of the lines longer, and then I tried to turn them into little triangle things, but I didn't like the one with the longer spikes. So in the end, even though I did a really nice star there, because it just doesn't fit very nicely inside the circle, I decided to go with equal length spirals and to turn them into triangles. And because of how I changed Cinderella's portion of the thing, I had to make a new mock-up, which I think is going to happen a lot. So all of them, all of the princesses are going to have circles. They're all going to have the thing they're advertising at the bottom. Then they're going to have the triangle thing with flowers inside of them at the top, you know. And then there's not going to have very many fancy flowers among their bodies. It's only going to be in the border at the top. I think that's going to make it a lot simpler for me. Because else it's going to be... I'm going to have to draw so many Mucha flowers again, and I don't want to do that. It's going to be a lot easier. Thank you for watching!